Hello and welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. This is a horoscope for Capricorn. If Capricorn is your solar, lunar, ascendant/rising sign, then this is a message for you. Okay, let's get started. Let's see, what do these tea leaves have to say tonight? Okay, so our card for this reading is the Seven of Wands, which has to do with valor. And this has to do with bravery, looking for quality in life. And I'm always trying to think, what are the attributes to these cards exactly? And, you know, my own experience with the Seven of Wands is really a sense of not being overtaken by the outside world. Okay, going into a place where you feel you feel more yourself than anywhere else, right? Living in your own landscapes. Having the bravery to do that. To be an authentic, true being. Okay, whatever that means to you, right? And that's going to mean different things to each of us. Okay, so let's just kind of twirl this one more time. Let me see. Okay. So, I do feel like we have a flower here, okay, coming out of this metaphysical realm, flowering into the emotional. We also have maybe some kind of pollinator or a little bird visiting the flower. Okay, so spreading the pollens of this kind of spiritual flowering. So I really feel that there has been maybe a series of dreams. There has been a calling inward. You are feeling, when you wake up in the morning, you are still in that kind of foggy place throughout the day. It's not necessarily like a brain fog, okay? You know, sometimes this is related to not feeling well. When I had the thing that, you know, the dreaded thing that will remain unnamed, for months after I had that brain fog that they've talked about. And this can be, you know, this kind of trouble with cognitive things. This isn't what I mean, though. This is kind of walking through that dreaminess. Sometimes it happens when you have bad dreams, you have night terrors, you bring that over into the waking world. Feeling uneasy, maybe feeling like something bad is going to happen. I don't think this is exactly that either. What I do feel like, though, is there is this kind of almost surreal, spiritual, kind of everything feels really meaningful, but also somewhat detached while you're walking through your waking life, okay? And I feel like there's been a natural release from whatever's going on in the material world, okay? I see this person kind of on a path that seems like it's almost like a like a spiral or the beginning of one. And I feel that you are really, truly moving into your own headspace, into your kind of own interior world, your sacred temple, right? You know, this could be through dream work, vision work, meditation. But I also think that sometimes it kind of seeps over into all that we do. And, you know, some people look to live this way. This is kind of, you know, the focus of trying to meditate often, live a, you know, kind of like an ascetic lifestyle, or kind of, you know, the routines of a practitioner, being separate from, you know, most of the mundane, kind of, you know, regular grind of life, having, you know, a life that is centered around spirituality, connectedness, and religion, being, you know, in line with the universe, and all of these things. But sometimes this also just kind of happens in our normal lives. You know, it is quite possible to be a spiritual being, somebody who is on a very spiritual, religious path, and still maintain, you know, a day job, a family, you know, do the things that most people do. And I think that, you know, not always are you in this mode of being focused on that work, but it will present itself. And so here is your calling. It is not asking, it is just kind of flooding in. And I would say this is almost like, well, if you practice any kind of magic or, you know, ceremony, like a ceremonial magician, this would be akin to kind of an altered state that you would use to prepare for like an operation, or, you know, a series of rituals and so on. I don't know what has happened to get you here. But I know that you are, and I know that you feel it. So, as you kind of venture into these lands, I will be a little bit of the voice of reason and remind you, you know, to take care of yourself, in your body, in your routine, you know, go about the work that you must, you know, adhere to your responsibilities, and, you know, taking care of your psychic wellness, your emotional wellness, your mental health. And, you know, a big thing too is protecting yourself from, you know, the influence of transient spirits, transient, you know, intelligences, things. I'm not talking about demons necessarily, but, you know, things that, emotions, other people's influences, whatever it is, you know, you are in a state that is somewhat vulnerable when, and that was Pudgy, if you could hear that. I don't know what he's doing. Being silly, I suppose. And, you know, you're in a place that's kind of vulnerable, laid open to, you know, psychic attacks and this kind of thing. So you have to remember to fortify yourself, Notice how you're feeling, you know, if there are drastic shifts or, you know, things feel oppressive or dark, as far as, you know, dark thoughts or, you know, leaning towards melancholy and this kind of thing, anger, rage. Make sure that you're checking in with people in your life, having a support system. And also, you know, if you are the type of person to keep record, keeping a magical diary, you know, a spiritual diary, some kind of, you know, just place to write down the things that you're experiencing, thinking about, feeling. This, you know, doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to make sense. But later on down the road, it might be something that is helpful to kind of, you know, look for patterns or any kind of deeper meaning that you may have missed while this is going on. You know, and personally, I live for these moments in life when, oh gosh, you know, the magical thinking comes in, when everything seems to feel a little bit distorted. Not when it's scary. I don't like that, but when, you know, I feel so inspired by the universe, when I'm having a lot of dream visitations and visions and communications and this kind of thing, which does happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen often. When I had, well, I have a toddler, so when I was pregnant and I had the baby, not a lot, you know, and I think that makes sense because I was really focused on the work of the family. You know, sleep deprived, breastfeeding, taking care of a little tiny helpless infant. And, you know, so I didn't feel as much I felt magical in different ways, you know, the rite of passage into motherhood and evolving and as a being, you know, and kind of these other kinds of sectors of life. But you know, since I've been doing these readings more, since last winter, I would say there has been a marked uptick for me, and I live for these times when I'm having a lot of dreams, feeling a lot of visitations. And I think that's because I am taking in the energies of a lot of people, communicating with a lot of people about things that are very emotional. You know, if you are watching, you know, your horoscopes, tarot readings, divination, this kind of thing, maybe you're just really interested in this stuff. But a lot of times people are here because something big is happening in their life, right? And so I feel like that energy from a lot of different people has been flowing into my being and into my psyche and into my, you know, sacred workplaces. And so it has been a lot, and a lot of this kind of energy. And you know, there's not only me, I'm sure you can ask any practitioner or reader about this. You know, there's a lot of self-care that has to go into maintaining these energies and, you know, staying safe and uninfluenced in negative ways and so on. But I think this happens it happens to all of us, right? If you feel like you are psychic or have abilities or not, you know, we're all kind of interconnected, and we all have. No, please don't. Go on now. Go and drink some water, buddy. Oh, goodness. So I feel like you're really in a place, like, there's a lot going on, okay? And, you know, Capricorn, you have had a lot of, a lot of stuff going on related to work. Always work with you all. Work and building things. But also, your love has been big this last 6 months or so. I've felt a lot of, you know, this uptick in romantic love, love of family, feeling very connected to others, more so than usual maybe. And I think that it makes sense that this would now be part of the cycle, is that this interior work, these landscapes are demanding your attention. You know, and I feel like you've developed as a being in general, so it is really a good time to be working on some of this you know, individuation, or whatever it is that you would call it, this integration of parts of self, maybe looking at some healing, figuring out how to maybe process some of your emotions that get stuck, you know, before that kind of manifests in physical ailments. And we have this chicken here. I've been looking at this beautiful little chicken, looking at 2 fish down here. So we have a lot of abundance. And the chicken to me really is just that, well, it is of family, of togetherness, but also like very within the group, very much an individual. You know, I always find it strange that, you know, I guess we do apply some of our human emotions onto animals, but animals feel so deeply. I mean, come on. And birds and reptiles and, you know, and fish, of course, all get kind of the worst rap of, oh, they don't feel anything, or, you know, they are just like on their instinctual brain. But if you've ever been around chickens, well, I don't know, are they all domesticated? I guess they are such loving beings. They really truly are. And they definitely know their people. They know each other. They have their own little societies. All you have to do is kind of watch them, okay? And so there is a lovingness. I look at a group of hens, and where I kind of grew up, there was a part of town that wasn't exactly in my little part of town. It was like a place right over by the river from where I lived. And there were just probably 150 chickens that just walked around this town square. And they would roost in the trees next to the river. And you would just see their love for each other. I mean, they really were such caring, loving beings. They would like herd each other away from cars, and you know, you would see them get in their little scraps, of course, and they had their divisions and things. But overall, not unlike any other social animals. And you know, so I see, when I think of the hens, I see, you know, a very clear reflection of a kind of mothering goddess, or, you know, the mother goddess, this caretaker, that makes difficult decisions, okay? To some can be brutal, to others, you know, infinite love. And sometimes in having to be stern, to be, you know, to be a protector of your loved ones, you have to be brutal, you know. Hopefully not. Hopefully we don't have to ever come to that, but you must have the capacity, right? And we all do. We all have the capacity. If you've ever, if you think, okay, here's an example. If you have a dog, right? And you're walking your dog, and some big dog or big animal comes running to fight it, grab it up, wouldn't you probably instinctually jump in there and fight the other dog off of it? I mean, you probably would, do whatever you had to do to save your baby. And this is that energy that I'm talking about. Sometimes it is brutal. And so I look at this and I see that. I see that you will do what you must for yours. And this is part of the work that you're looking at, I think, is kind of negotiating some of these aspects of self that you might find confronting. Okay. But these are things that we have to think about, right? And ultimately, I'm a big believer in not only looking at them, but having a plan, right? Not unlike if there were a fire, how, you train your family. How are you going to get out of the house? If there's a disaster, what do we grab? Or do we, what do we do to get everybody safely out of the house if it's 3 a.m. and something happens? Okay, so, not unlike this, I think we, have to think about what will we do? And I'm not talking about, fetishizing doom or, some kind of thing happening and just obsessing about it all the time. But, yeah, having a plan. And, also, I know that there are men, women, and other people that watch these things. A lot of times I'm thinking of women because I am a woman myself. But being able to protect yourself is huge. No matter what age you are, what your physical is like, whatever ability you have or don't have, having a plan for how you can protect yourself, protect your family, protect, whatever. And not just, thinking about it, but going through the motions. Go, if you have the ability, go to like self-defense classes. If you have the ability, go to, martial arts, something, some kind of thing where you learn that muscle memory. It's so important that we empower ourselves to take care of ourselves as much as we can. And our children, right? This world is a beautiful, beautiful place, but we have to be, we have to take responsibility for ourselves, don't we? And we never know what could happen. You just don't, And I'm not a person that, wants to throw, fear into the pond and create ripple effects. That's not my intention, but I also am a realist. I also, grew up in a time where the world was wild, and we didn't have our parents watching us, and all kinds of stuff happened around me that was horrific. You know, I grew up in California during the late 80s and 90s. And, you know, if you are from California and you know what it was like to be feral children too. Strong believer in us knowing how to do things. You know, I love saying go out there and learn something new. Every week, at least, you need to be learning something new. Constantly keeping your mind sharp as you can. Problem solving. Using your hands. Whatever. You know, I'm a big advocate of therapies. Different modalities. Whatever you have access to. Intentional movement. Getting outside. You know, being with nature, but also being able to protect yourself, knowing how to use your body and your mind to protect yourself. Okay, having a plan for things. Okay, this is all important, and I think that, you know, as you're working through some things inside of yourself, and often we do find places that are sensitive. And I would not be surprised if you found a place where you feel like, you know, it can manifest a lot as things like feeling like you're drowning, or something is overtaking you. You're succumbing to a darkness, or something is lurking around you, but you can't see or identify it. These are things that come up in dreams a lot, right? Your teeth falling out. That's another one. Feeling out of control of a situation in your life. So when these kinds of feelings come up in self-work and dream work, this is a good time to take control in your life, or do something that makes you feel like you have a plan. Is that plan going to work for sure? No. Who knows? I don't know. You know, I have a plan for a lot of things. I have absolutely lost it sometimes when things... There was a time when the baby was really young. We still lived in an apartment, and there was a gas smell in the building. And I went down because we could hear like a banging sound. I went downstairs to go talk to a lady. I knew everybody in the building, and I could smell it, and I freaked out, called, you know, the fire department, ran upstairs, ran into the house, was like trying to grab the baby. She was like a newborn. Grab her stuff, get our lockbox of things, you know, whatever, all this stuff. And I was frantic, not communicating, going crazy. Had a plan for something like this in my mind. Never practiced it. Absolutely lost it. My cool was gone. I was like frantic. My husband was like, that was insane. Like you were all... I didn't even know what was going on because I didn't even say anything to him. You know, I was just grabbing stuff. Get out of the building, you know. And so we have to be prepared. You know, sometimes you just in the moment it all goes out the window. But the more you practice and the more you know, try it. And that's why I say you can have a plan in your mind, but if you don't put it into practice, it's like it doesn't really matter that much. So you have to practice it. And this is why they do that at school. This is why we have fire drills, or maybe where you work. I've worked at places because where I live, we have tornadoes. So we would have to practice sheltering, right? So you knew if you're in the middle of waiting, you know, dinner rush, and there is a tornado coming, how would we get people into a shelter, or where would we go, you know? So these kinds of things. And, you know, doing the process of being proactive, will help you find some kind of safety and control in your own life. Perceived. Perceived, right? Okay, so we have a face here with a nose and a bit of a, it looks like almost like a mustache, but peaceful. And then one of the eyes is a bird, and we have a bird here. And so I feel like there is kind of going to be an interaction with a masculine intelligence, and maybe this is somebody you know, or like a reoccurrent dream person, but they feel familiar and they feel safe. So I feel like this could even be like a spirit guide of some kind. And so with the birds, we have some important messages coming through. And I feel like because you feel safe with this being, this is going to feel very healing, whatever is coming through for you, okay? So I think that this is a beautiful time. There's really going to be some progress, and I know you Capricorns love some kind of progress. You like to see some kind of forward movement on things, right? So here's the lightness of being affirmation cards, and we're just going to go ahead and pick one and see kind of how this goes with the end of the reading here. Okay. And we have harmony. Don't be afraid to admit what no longer works for you. Exhale and pause. Yeah, so I think that, you know, maybe this is part of that work. Sometimes, I mean, listen, sometimes we're going about life, cruising along, things are going well. Suddenly, shift in perception, shift in how we experience reality. Why? I don't know. But usually it's because something within ourselves is telling us, okay, now you have met whatever requirements for life. Now you need to work on this thing. And if you're not going to choose to do that, it's going to kind of force itself into the front of your psyche. Okay. And that's a lot of times why things just feel different. Why we start to go far inward, to have, you know, a lot of visions, dreams, symbolisms, synchronicities. It's like the universe saying, hey buddy, it's time to you know, kind of check this out. We gotta really kind of focus here, okay? And I think that's, you know, part of what's going on for sure. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and say thank you so much for spending this time with me. It is always such an honor to be able to bring these messages to you. If you'd be so kind as to like the video, it helps us get into the algorithm, and that helps the channel grow. Well, it helps it grow, but it also helps the videos just kind of get into the recommendations and things, and more people watch them and so on. And so we do the things that the algorithm likes, and those are engagements. Things like liking the video really helps. Watching the readings from the beginning to the end, very helpful. Share. This is what I read. I don't know if this is true or not, but sharing the video on other social media platforms, the algorithm loves that. And of course, you don't have to do any of these things, but I like to mention them in case, you know, you want to help support the channel in some way. These are some of the best ways to do that. Other than that, if you haven't subscribed, please think about doing it. Think about doing it. Subscribe. And if you do, hit the subscribe button. You can also hit that little bell. It'll let you know when the next videos are coming out. And if you want to leave a comment, please do. I read them all. and I reply back to them all. Sometimes it takes me a day or two to get back to you, but I will, I promise. It is my favorite part of the readings. I love feeling your energy, hearing about what's going on with you, and of course, I have a special fondness for my Capricorns. It is my ascendant sign, so I am here for it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and say thank you, thank you, thank you, and we will talk in just a few days.